Dear friends, tonight we are honored to welcome back to our synagogue Rabbi Gabby Dagan of our sister Reform congregation Or Hadash in Haifa, where he has served for the last 15 years. Born in northern Israel to a traditional Moroccan-Iranian Orthodox family, Gabby was educated within the Orthodox stream of the Israeli education system and in a Bnei Akiva yeshiva. Following his army service as a religious affairs officer, he left the yeshiva world to pursue a BA from Haifa University in sociology, anthropology, and politics, as well as an MA in Jewish history. So Rabbi Dagan brings a remarkable personal journey and perspective to his work as a Reform rabbi and scholar. He has visited us each of the last 3 summers, always shedding light on the challenges of the moment, which, though they change from year to year, seem to be ever present. All of us who love Israel are, of course, deeply fearful for the fate of the remaining 50 hostages, 20 of whom are presumed to be living. And we are horrified by the conditions in which Hamas and its terrorist collaborators are holding them, as evidenced by the images we witnessed early this week. And we know that if Hamas were to release those captives, lay down its weapons, and walk out of Gaza, this war would be over. And at the same time, we are also gravely concerned about the death and suffering and destruction in Gaza. Yesterday, our temple's philanthropic and executive committees approved a grant to IsraAid, an Israeli emergency relief organization with which we have partnered for a decade, addressing disasters around the world and in Israel, to now send aid into Gaza too. And many of us are worried about the direction in which Israel's government has been guiding the conflict, now toward a military takeover of Gaza City, even with our clear commitment that the threat posed by Hamas must be eradicated. So how do we hold these conflicting realities at once? How do we uphold our moral responsibilities when clarity feels elusive? And how on this Shabbat Nachamu, this Sabbath of consolation after Tisha B'Av, do we find comfort in these confusing, confounding times? In his remarks tonight, Rabbi Dagan will reflect on these questions that resonate deeply in today's world as he shares with us the insights honed by his unique experience. Please welcome back Rabbi Gabby Dagan.
I'm so happy to be in New York, out of Israel. And I feel totally blessed to be here tonight with all of you. And for the 3rd time, and as I mentioned to Rabbi Davidson, every time you invite me to come to Temple Emanu-El, I'll be here. It's a great honor for me. Thank you so much. As a child, my mother always told me I was a crying baby, a pretty annoying baby, actually. And I grew up to believe it. Why wouldn't I? Years later, when we were expecting our first child, I turned to my mom and said, what a shame. I'm going to have an annoying baby. Mortified, she asked, Why would you say that? Because I was one, I replied. Who told you that? Well, you did. Nah. You weren't, she said without hesitation. You're an amazing baby, so smart, so curious, so full of wonder. And just like that, in my late 20s, I was forced to hold 2 stories, 2 conflicting stories about my own life. Truth be told, that's not the hardest conflict to hold. Officiating weddings over the last 2 years, sometimes in the middle of a missile attacks, that's a deeper kind of conflict. Bringing babies into this world while others are bearing theirs, that's a harder contradiction to live with. Living in a place of safety and abundance while the world around us is filled with war, hunger, and grief, that's the kind of conflict we struggle to carry. This week, in Parashat Vayetchanan, our weekly portion, we read once again the Aseret Hadibrot, the 10 Commandments, a foundational text of morality. These 10 expectations are not just a list of do's and don'ts. They're the spine of our culture, the compass of our moral values, the framework of law and of conscience. They remind us of who we must be, no matter what the world around us looks like. We are not only commanded to uphold them, we are called to protect and embody them. 10 is a powerful number in our tradition. It echoes across time and meaning. 10 is Tishrei, the month of Rosh Hashanah, our new beginning. 10 is also the month of October. This Shabbat is also Shabbat Nachamu, the Shabbat of comfort. It follows the darkest day in our Jewish calendar, Tisha B'Av. And when we mourn the destruction of the temple, the shattering of dreams, the collapse of our spiritual center, but this Shabbat begins the 7 weeks of consolation. Shiva Denechamta, a journey of healing and hope that leads us all the way to Rosh Hashanah. It's a journey of the soul and of the mind, a spiritual process that holds the number 7 as a symbol of creation, renewal, and new beginnings. And there we have it. 7 weeks, 10 commandments, 10 and 7. And when I put the 2 numbers side by side, they read 10/7, October 7. A date that for us as Israelis, as Jews, and as human beings who care about life, has become a defining day, a day of profound pain and horror. It shattered what we thought was safe. It broke illusions we didn't know we were still holding. It ignited war, fear, rage, and unrelenting grief. But now, as we stand in this space, in this gap of time between 10 and 7, between commandments and comfort, we are asked to do something profoundly Jewish, to hold 2 truths together, to live with 2 conflicting realities at the same time. We are called to remember and protect, to grieve and heal, to resist evil and still see the humanity in others, to take responsibility, not just for our own pain, but for how we respond to the pain of others. Because if we let our suffering blind us to the suffering of others, we risk betraying the very essence of our tradition. We risk failing our teaching, our best practices, the legacy of compassion, of chesed, passed down through generations. The 10 Commandments tell us what is right. The 7 weeks invites us to feel justice and mercy, obligation and compassion, backbone and heart. My son grew up hearing that he was a wonderful baby, and he was. But as an Israeli child, as a Jewish child, he too will learn to live with conflicting truth, and so will all of our children. Shabbat Shalom.